Hello, everybody. Your lesson for today is going to focus on plural and singular nouns. So you have an activity that is based off of this. It's a activity where you are going to see or receive the singular version of a word, and then you're going to have to choose out of some different words which one is the correctly spelled plural version of that word. So the first thing that's important to understand with plural and singular is, what do we mean by plural? Well, singular means that we have one of something. So in my hand right now, I have one marker. Marker is a singular form of that word. The plural means more than one. So if I were to take a second marker, I now have two markers. Markers is the plural form of the word marker. So there are many different rules that go into how to correctly spell and how to correctly say and how to correctly write plural forms of different nouns. We are going to focus on 6. Some of them are going to be ones that you're going to learn going into high school, and as you become stronger readers and more complicated and less common situations that you'll run into some of these words. These ones right here are the common ones. They're the ones that you're going to see a lot, and they are the ones that you are going to need to focus on in middle school reading and writing. All right, so the first one is the most common. It's the one that you're probably all very familiar with. If we have a word like cat, and we want to say that we have more than one cat. One cat would be C-A-T, cat, but 7 cats. How would we say and how would we write that? Correct. We add an S. Add an S to the end of the word cat, we get cats. That's something you're probably all familiar with, comfortable with, know how to do that one. Most common nouns, we are adding an S to the end, and that will pluralize the word. We did that with markers earlier. So I have 1 cat, I have 7 cats. Second rule gets a little more difficult because words like tax and marsh, words ending in S, 2 S's, SH, X. Some of these words we can't add an S to it. Either it's not going to say the word we want it to say, or we're not really going to hear the plural sound to know that it's a different word. For example, bus. If we add another S to the end of bus, it's still just going to say bus. Tax. If we add a S to the end of tax, because it already ends in that X sound, it's just going to say tax. Or marsh is going to say marsh. But we want those words to say taxes and marshes and buses. So instead of just adding the S, we're going to add an E to those words. Taxes. When I go to the store, I pay a sales tax on an item. But at the end of the year, I have to pay all of my taxes. I went to visit the marsh this afternoon. I enjoy visiting many marshes when I have time. So those words, we're going to add an E before we add the S so that we hear that marshes, taxes, buses sound. Next one is a rule when we have this short vowel and then an S. And we have to figure out how we're going to pluralize that word because we can't just add an S to it because we have gas. And it's still gas. But there's a reason we can't add an E there either. And you guys know this. I have this short vowel sound here. It's ass to say the word gas. If I add an E right here, I switch to that rule of vowel, consonant, E. And when we add a final E onto the word, what happens to that A? Right, that A will switch and say A instead of A. So that word is no longer gas, it's now gase. So if we added ES like we did up here, it wouldn't say gases anymore, it would say gases. So we can't add an ES, we can't add an S, but what we can do is we add another S there, we still have gas, but now we have 2 consonants after that A. So now we can add an E, and now we can add an S, and we can have the plural form of gas, which is gases. Okay? I could smell gas when I was pumping gas into my car. There are many gases on the periodic table. So we have to add that second S to make sure that that A still says the A sound that we want it to say. Right? Next rule, we have a word wife. Knife is going to follow the same rule. Words that end in FE. Those words that end in FE, we don't add an S right onto the end because we don't say wifes for a plural form of wife. We say wives. My wife is at home working on her schoolwork. My friends are bringing their wives over later. So what we do with the FE is we actually drop that whole FE and we put a V. E. S. We have wives. My brother and I both have wives. So we drop that FE, change the F to a V, ES. Same thing with the word knife. I have a knife that I use to cut my sandwiches. There are knives in the kitchen drawer if you need one. Not knives, but knives. Next rule is ending in the letter Y. Words that end in the letter Y, like fly or sky. Those words, again, we don't just add an S to. We do say flies, we do say skies, but it's not spelled F-L-Y-S. What we want to do when a word ends in Y is drop that Y off and switch to I-E-S. I swatted a fly. There are many flies swarming around the picnic table. Words that end in Y, we're going to drop the Y and put in I-E-S. Skies. Fish is a word that we're not going to change at all. It is one of those words that doesn't follow the rules sometimes. We have several fish. We have one fish. But there are many fish in the pond. But there is still one fish that I will bring home. Whether we're saying a plural or singular, we're still saying the same word. Okay? So go over this video if you need to a couple times, if you need to listen to some of these rules, or if you need to come back to these another time. Practice it in that practice activity. And make sure that you are identifying some of those endings. A lot of words you're just adding an S, but there are reasons why we can't just add an S to some of those words. So most common nouns, we're adding an S to it. Cat becomes cats. Bat becomes bats. Words in with X, SH, S, two S's, like boss. We can't add a third S on the end of boss. It's still going to say boss. It's going to have to say bosses. So we add ES. These short vowel words, take a look at them. Make sure that you're still saying the right word. If we put that E right there, it's going to change that vowel. So we don't want to do it. We can't do that. So there's one consonant after the vowel. We got to add a second consonant and then the ES. F, F-E, change to V. Wife, wives. Knife, knives. Y, change it to IE. And then some words just stay the same. Sheep is another one. Fish. There were 17 sheep on the hill. There was one sheep on the hill. Okay. So those are some of the rules that I want you guys to focus on. Complete that activity. Mark it done when it's finished. And let me know if you have any questions. I will talk to you all at 10 o'clock.